Practicing medicine without insurance is possible. Imagine a private practice where you get to see your best patients every day, providing medical services you truly enjoy, all without the hassle of insurance. My name is Dr. T. Nguyen, and I'm a recovering specialist who was completely burned out from insurance-based medicine. I pivoted into direct care, where patients pay me directly for my medical services and have never looked back. If you're a private practice owner or planning to become one who's looking to be free of the grind of insurance and you're craving simplicity, efficiency, and connection with patients, you are in the right place. This podcast will help you map out your exit plan and uncover the mindset needed to thrive in today's economy. Welcome to the Direct Care Podcast for Specialists. If you're stuck in between niching down, I'm going to pull back the curtains today to show you my process behind the scene and how I finally got the clarity that I needed. So even though I have a direct care practice, even though I say it's a simpler model, it's my brain that I'm fighting against. I have all of these great ideas and I get pulled in all these different directions. And I think social media is not helping me much at all, other than giving me more ideas to think about. And I know a lot of you are probably going through the same thing. You've got a lot of brilliant ideas and you're shuffling and trying to juggle between all of them. But the problem that we will ultimately face as business owners wearing all the hats is fighting for the one thing. We have way too many great ideas, and that can make it very difficult for people who don't think like us, i.e. your team or your support staff, to follow through, because you're kind of tugging them left and right and you expect them to think quickly on their feet and problem solve. We're expecting them to be almost like a mini version of us from time to time. But when we do that, we end up spending a lot of time task switching, which means we go from one project to another and then back to the project. And it ends up costing us a lot of energy, which doesn't really allow you and I to go deep enough to create an impact. This is kind of like digging a bunch of holes in the ground that are just too shallow, never digging deep enough to get to that water that we're looking for. And the minute things start to get boring or unexciting, or we don't see the results we're searching for, we jump to something else, something more exciting. And then we dig another hole. But what happens in this scenario is we end up missing the importance of depth and focus. And this is what niching down is. Even though we're specialists, designing our direct specialty care practice, we can still hone in on our ability to focus on the one thing that generates consistent revenue, master that, and then be able to work on the next project. Digging a bunch of shallow holes in the ground is not a really good business strategy. We really need to focus on the one hole and dig it very deep. Or another way to see this, it's like building a bridge to your end destination. How fast can you go if you're building multiple bridges trying to reach your destination? Maybe that destination is financial freedom. Maybe it is time freedom. Maybe it's creative freedom. But if you're building multiple bridges to get there, which path gets you there faster? Building one bridge or building multiple bridges? So this episode is going to give you a tool to help you get clarity if you've got a lot of things on your plate. And I know a lot of us are a little bit addicted to multitasking, but I'm going to pull you back a little bit to help you preserve your sanity. And I'm going to help you see what I'm doing and the tools that I'm using so that you can apply it for yourself and be able to focus your next 90 days on the one thing. So here was my dilemma. I had two very specific services that was competing for my attention. One was treating toenail fungus, and the other was preventive diabetic foot care. If you're not a podiatrist, I bet you have a service line that is also competing for your attention. So stick with me here while you see how I hash this out. So one service line that I really enjoy, toenail fungus treatment, is pretty easy. The standard treatment of providing a pill works most of the time. And there's a subset of people who are either unable to take the medication or they're just looking for an alternative option that I offer. And so I'm available for them. And then the other service line that I deeply love which is caring for people who have diabetes who are at risk for more serious health consequences like an amputation, is something that I trained in. It's something that I always think about when a patient shows up with diabetes and they've got a foot problem. So my struggle was that I wasn't really sure which one of these two things to focus my marketing on. That doesn't mean that I eliminate the other service line if I focused on one. It just means that if I'm going to put fuel in the fire, if I'm going to put dollars into marketing, I really need to focus on the one that generates the most revenue. So here's what I did, and I know you're going to be able to use this tool too. So if you haven't already adopted AI into your business, I highly encourage you to do so. And if you've been working with ChatGPT long enough, you'll see that it starts to learn about you, about the business questions or the questions that you ask, and provide you some guidance. I do want to give you a word of caution when you're using any AI tool, because oftentimes it's feeding you information that you want to hear. So it turns into this echo chamber. And it's almost like a therapy session, although not quite. But if you ask it a question, hoping for an answer, it'll probably generate the answer in the way that it knows you will accept it. So that could be problematic down the road. But for now, if you're just trying to get surface level answers for your problem, this is a good starting point. So as long as you have the discernment that this is not going to be the only tool you use, that it's not your life book, then you'll start to get some clarity and kind of clear the path for your next step. So going to ChatGPT, I do have the paid version. I started with the free version, but it gave me some limits. And so I just paid, I think it was something nominal, like $10 a month or something, or maybe even $20 now with inflation. But nonetheless, it's not much of anything. So you pay for that. And the prompt that I used on ChatGPT is this, quote, act as a business mentor who is helping me scale my clinical practice, period. I am struggling to focus between niches. Enter your niches that you're struggling with, comma, I don't know if there is a cash market for this, dot. How do you proceed to help? Question mark. So I phrase it in a way that is broad enough to give me a roadmap as to what I should do next or what I could do next. And so it's up to me to find the plausibility of the answer. This is not the Bible. This is not the end all, but it'll get you started so that you start learning to ask better questions about the problems you're having. So this is what it did for me. It broke it up into 3 steps. Step 1 is choosing the business vision that aligns with you. So ask yourself this question, which I did. First one, why did I go into direct care? Number 2, what kind of business do I want 1 year from now? And number 3, what do I want to be known as? So I'm going to dissect this a little bit further for you so that you walk away with a little bit more clarity for yourself. So the first question is, why did you go into direct care? Did you go into it for impact? Did you go into it for freedom? Did you go into it wanting to be the innovator of something in your niche? For me, it was definitely impact. I was taking care of diabetic patients who needed so much more time with me. But when I was working at the wound care center, we were really on a tight schedule. So they would see me for a few minutes, and then the amazing staff, the nurses, the tech would take care of everything else. I would make the assessment, they would do the hands-on work. Of course, excluding the debridements and procedures I needed to do. So I saw that there was a bit of a flaw in this model, treating people kind of like a revolving door. They would come in and they would leave and they would come back the following week. And then I had patients in the wound care center for 6 to 12 months or even longer for something that was easily resolved with a procedure. Some places don't have a podiatrist, and so I was receiving a lot of patients who didn't get to see the person who knew their biomechanics. And so it was a bit of a surprise for me when I saw some of these wounds that to me, I was like, this is so easy to heal. And then I would do a minor procedure and they would heal in 2 weeks, but they were in the wound care center for ages. So I saw something that could have been done better, but I was kind of restricted in the time that I had to spend with these patients. And so that's kind of why I chose to go into direct care, hoping that I could do better for more people, but obviously do it my way. So that was the impact that I wanted to create. And I wonder what it is for you. The second question, what kind of business do I want 1 year from now? I'm moving into my 7th year of my private practice, and 7 years went by. It almost feels like it went by fast, but slow when I'm in the moment because I wanted an end goal. And now that I get the chance to reflect back on what I've already created and see how far my business has evolved, I can feel more confident looking into the next year from now and think to myself, okay, what do I want to achieve? What kind of reputation do I want to build 1 year from now? So I already have this cash practice. I already specialize in the things that I really enjoy doing, but what's next? So that question might help you decide which of your service lines to choose if you ask yourself, okay, what do I want to be known for? So in this scenario, do I want to be known for the person who treats toenail fungus, or do I want to be the person who prevents amputations? And I think you can see the differences. One is cosmetic, one is life altering. And so just being able to have kind of that feedback by a third party, not my own brain, helped me get clarity as to what I want to do next. It can also provide you with clarity as to why you're holding yourself back. And I found through this exercise that I was just afraid that it wouldn't work. I was just afraid, or I had these preconceived ideas that this certain population isn't going to pay out of pocket for this kind of care, because this kind of care oftentimes is covered by insurance. So I was fighting myself for a long time between wanting to serve this population, but also realizing that insurance will pay for it sometimes. And then there's me, who is trying to create an entire model from something that does not yet exist. So yeah, it's scary. And oftentimes I hold myself back. And I think you can find yourself in the same situation where you might be holding yourself back because you have these preconceived notions, or you're trying to predict the future in saying it will not work, or I might fail, or something along those lines. So even though I can treat both things successfully, they offer something a little bit different on each end. And I'm going to break it down to step 2, comparing the 2 service lines you want to offer. So questions you can ask: ease of delivery. Fungal toenails, easy. There's an automated protocol. You prescribe the thing, or you provide the treatment. You do this, X, Y, and Z, and then they get the outcome. Diabetic foot health is a little bit more complex. It may require hands-on, callus reduction, wound care, allografts, surgeries, and so on. So just think about the ease of delivering those services. What does it require from you? The next question is client desire. What kind of person desires clear toenails? It ends up being more of a vanity issue, although one can argue fungal toenails can also represent your internal health. But for the most part, most of the patients who come to me for a fungal toenail, they're really embarrassed to show their feet. And so it is initially a vanity or cosmetic issue. Whereas diabetic foot health, there is a higher urgency. It is a life-altering problem if a person does not get treatment in time. And people who have undergone a previous amputation, a toe amputation for instance, know how important it is to take care of their feet from that point on. But it's the preemptive part that people don't really get. And so I can fill the void by educating people who have diabetes who may not know what to look for in their foot health. 2 additional questions to think about: lifetime value. Once I treat the fungal toenail, they're kind of done. There really isn't longevity in this. Compared to diabetic foot health, that has longevity. It has a level of chronicity. And so I can offer more things: education, hands-on care, preventive care, virtual visits, consultations. The list is quite long in trying to help the individual who has diabetes who is at risk for a foot problem. And therefore, there is a lifetime value that is a lot bigger in this population than the other. The last question I had to ask myself is brand legacy. Do I want to be known for being a cosmetic podiatrist, or that preventive, holistic type of podiatrist who creates an impact, restoring somebody's independence through the care that I provide? Step 3 is to test the market without fully committing. And that's kind of what I've been doing. I put it out there. I've got a book on treating toenail fungus holistically. I also got a pilot program developing for diabetic foot health. So I have these two products that I can put out into the market and then decide with time and experience which one to go for. Now, if you're not data driven like me, you're going to have to learn how to get good at it or hire people who are good at it. And what I mean by that is I can test these two services in the beginning without fully committing to either one, just so that I can get some data to understand where the market is leading me. So what does that actually look like? It looks like putting out some paid ads. So one paid ad is going to focus on the fungal toenails, where I talk about bundled treatments and a landing page. Over time, I look at the cost of what I paid into the ads and what actually became revenue for me, people who actually paid. And the second one is putting out a pilot program on diabetic foot health, where I'm going to do more webinars because this requires a little bit more education or pre-education before they come to my door. It may also include a lead magnet or a downloadable PDF to help the individual who is looking for somebody like me understand if they are a good fit for me. And so what that could look like is a educational PDF like the 5 mistakes that delay diabetic foot healing, for example. And that would then either lead to them learning more about me and then deciding if they want to book that consultation or to purchase a course that is currently in the works. So those are two examples that I have for the dilemma I was going through. So in these two examples, you can decide through the data which one lands better for your practice as far as revenue goes. So niching down doesn't mean you do not take care of the other things that you don't talk about. They will come to you anyway. They actually come pretty easily if you are a specialist of that thing. But when you get to decide on the one thing you want to focus wholly on, whether you're doing educational webinars, you're putting out some freebie downloadable tutorials, PDFs, what have you, maybe a book even, or a podcast you're going to create or have created, this makes life a little bit easier because then you get to focus on the one thing and build your social media presence around it. And that ends up saving you a lot of time and a lot of trouble from trying to build multiple bridges to get to your end destination. The end destination would be a financially stable, direct specialty care practice. So once you have that financial stability, then you can start exploring other things. And you would do the same routine. You would pick the next one thing to focus on. You would then break it down to the pros and cons of the things you're conflicted with. And then you test the market by reading the data so that you don't get emotionally tied to one thing or another. Now remember, oftentimes we as humans tend to struggle with black and white thinking. And so with your daily exercise of realizing that it does not have to be an all or none situation where you think, okay, if I choose this one thing, then that means I can't have that other thing. It's not that at all. We're just going to use the data and interpret that and then continue to refine it so that you don't have to constantly reinvent the wheel when you have this new brilliant idea. So that's a glimpse behind the scene as to what I'm currently working on right now. My clinic has been financially stable, but I'm looking to up-level the revenue a bit more because let's face it, the cost of business is going up and there's not a lot of time left. Time is not renewable. Money is. Money can always be generated. So if you're the kind of doctor who wants to create the impact, but you've got a lot of really great ideas and you're kind of stuck, use ChatGPT to help guide you because it's going to help you develop better questions to ask over time and then give you some clarity around that. If for some reason you're not getting the answers that you need through ChatGPT or you need some clarification over the current struggles that you're having, I invite you to join us on the free Facebook group called the Direct Care Society. It is a small but mighty group of doctors who already have a direct care practice or are looking into creating one, or they're looking to scale their current practice. So we're all here sharing our ideas, showing you what works, saving you time from things that don't work, and we're here to simply support you on your journey, no matter what phase of your business growth you're in. You can expect a live webinar from me at least once a month, so join the group to get the updates, and I'll see you there. Take care for now. If you enjoyed this episode, please give it a review and share it with a friend so more doctors can learn about direct care. Let's keep the conversation going on LinkedIn so we can help more doctors escape insurance and thrive in private practice. Thanks for listening. I'll talk with you next time. Take care.